Alright, I thought I would go over some of the supplies that I'm going to be using. So for my paper choice, I went with this fluid watercolor paper. This is a hot press finish. It's size 9 by 12 and it's 140 pound or 300 GSM. And then I'm going to be using a tracing tablet, and this is just a tracing tablet that I found on Amazon that's a little bit bigger than 9 by 12, so it fits the paper really nicely. I'm going to be needing a ruler, and this ruler is used just to steady my hand on the paper, but it also prevents me from touching the paper, and that's so I avoid getting fingerprints on the paper and messing up the painting, because it's very evident when you get your fingerprints on the paper with watercolor painting. For the pencils and the inking, I went with the Jackson's brand on both. These are the set of graphite pencils, and this ranges from a 2H to a 10B, and I'm probably going to be using an H pencil because that creates a very light line on the paper, and then my drawing won't be so evident when it comes to the painting portion. And then for the Fineliners, again, this is Jackson's, and then it ranges in size from 0.05 to 0.8. And then I'm just going to move the camera over so you can see the rest of the art supplies. So for the paint, I'm going to be using this set of Faber Castell Albrecht Durer watercolor pencils. This is a set of 120. It's a very nice set. And when you mix it with water, it turns into paint. And I'm going to be only using a few choice colors from this set. For the paint palettes, I'm using these two are MEEDEN watercolor palettes, and then this one is an IKEA piece of dishware, but I've decided that it's exclusively going to be used for watercolor painting. And this holds my paper towels, and it holds the brushes. And then I mix the color on this one, and I wash the brushes in this one. And then for the brushes, I'm going to be using these Creative Inspiration brushes. I picked a size 2, a 4, and a 6. These are pretty cheap brushes, and I don't know that I'm going to be using all 3 of these, but these are the ones that I chose. All right, and I think that's all. I think that's all we need, yeah. So now that I've explained all the supplies, we can get started. Hey friends, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your support in watching these videos. You guys keep me feeling inspired, and that keeps me motivated to continue to get better at drawing and storytelling, so thank you so much for that. I am sorry that I couldn't get to this video faster, but my trip to Italy really messed up my timeline, along with a few other life events, and it's been pretty challenging to try to stay on top of this comic book process. And that's not to say I haven't been working on it. I definitely have been working on it. I think I can safely say that I have enough rough storylines to fill an entire 32-page comic. along with some rough drawings and sketches. So it's really just a matter of time, really, to actually put all this stuff together. I mean, time is the thing that we all wish we had more of, am I right? So the good thing is that I still feel very motivated by the Taco King concept. The beauty of this idea is that I hardly ever sit down at the drawing table at the moment and think, like, what am I going to draw today? So that was probably one of the things that would plague me in the past and constantly prevented me from drawing in the first place. It's kind of like that feeling of staring at a blank page and not quite knowing what to do with it. It's just like a very daunting and overwhelming feeling to have. I think maybe it's because I don't consider this, I mean the Taco King concept, that is, I don't consider it to be like a one-off. By that I mean none of the drawings that I've shared so far live unto themselves. So they're all kind of linked to a larger storyline. And I think that's part of the challenge with this channel and this concept as a whole, is that everything I do is a continuation from the previous episode. So it's actually pretty hard at the moment anyways to not have any ideas forming in my brain about what I'm going to do next. I think that's like one of the things that creative people struggle with and fear. It's also my fear, but that's not particularly plaguing me right now. But I think I have, having a storyline to go along with the characters is the thing that is fueling the artistic process right now. It's maybe that, and like it never hurts to have shiny new art supplies. So it's nothing like an art haul to keep you motivated. I mean, overall, I kept the overarching storyline as a pretty simple premise. It's pretty open-ended at the moment, and I also think it helps that I've simplified and corrected some of my previous errors. For example, if you take the previous comic spread that I did in the last video, if you've watched that, it's a complete story in 2 pages, and in it there's a very distinct beginning, middle, and an end, even though it's very short. And I think part of the problem was when I was devising some of the storylines, and this is before I ever even started this channel, I think I was thinking way too epically. I was trying to write longer storylines that would eventually pretty much go nowhere because I didn't know my characters well enough, and I started by writing instead of drawing, and writing is not my strong suit. I don't think I'm not terrible at it, but I don't consider myself a writer. Personally, I think I'm better at drawing, but Taco King started with a few simple drawings, and then for some reason I abandoned the drawing part and tried typing out the storylines instead. And I don't know why I did that, but it didn't work out too well. And I think it was because I ignored and neglected using my strength, and that is drawing. And it's true that I'm rusty, but I think I'm stronger at drawing as opposed to writing. And it wasn't until I started drawing random characters in like these weird poses and that these storylines started to emerge and pop into my head very naturally. It was almost like instinctively. So I guess you could say that if you have an idea for something and you're stuck or you're struggling on it, you could try looking at it through another lens, and you might uncover different facets of your ideas and yourself. So essentially, the new strategy is to build up my ability to write longer stories by starting with very short stories. So the next few comics are going to be shorter stories. And the final comic is going to be like a compendium of all those short stories. And I also think that maybe that could be more rewarding for you guys to watch, because I do feel like I'm going to have to break up these videos into pieces. And if you have to wait an incredibly long time to see content, it won't be as rewarding. So it'd be like waiting for a new season of a show to come out, and we all know what that's like, right? So you'd probably lose interest over time, and you'd forget what happened in the last episode by the time I post the new episode. So I'm shooting for shorter videos, but posting more often. And I can't say I'm totally there yet, but I am trying though. I do have a lot of commitments outside of this project though, so I'm going to have to find a way to make this happen. So the character that I'm drawing today is going to be used in the next video, which will end up being a 2-page comic. And I guess we can talk a little bit about this new character. I'm trying to determine his background, and maybe you guys can help me with that. I do know a few things about him. So for starters, this cat, his name is Goodwin Chambers. He's about 38 to 40 years old. So he's been around a while, and he generally knows himself, and he's comfortable with who he is, and he's very comfortable in his own fur. Maybe you can tell that by the way he crosses his legs. And he's kind of chill the way he's drinking that coffee, and he doesn't even need clothes, so he's just fine like that, just hanging around in his birthday suit. So he does have incredible swagger. And I also was thinking about what his profession would be, because he rents an apartment, and of course he needs to find a way to pay for that somehow. So I came up with a list of possibilities for his profession, and I also made a soft decision on what I think it's going to be, but I can tell you what the choices were, and I don't know, you could tell me what you think if you're interested. So I sorted these out into choices like A, B, C, D. So I'm going to just read those off to you. So the first one is A. Goodwin Chambers works for Darren at the restaurant as a bartender at the juice bar. So that was option A. Option B, he is a bright engineer who likes to build things. Option C, he's in a band and travels around the city doing gigs and going on tour a lot. Option D, Goodwin Chambers is a taxi driver. Or option E, he's a therapist. So I'm going to let that simmer for a second. And it actually turns out that I already had a meeting with my silent partners on this topic. And it seems like the therapist concept is the one with the most potential at the moment, and the idea that was the most favorable. So that could change in the future, but for right now, I am thinking that he's going to not only be a therapist, but he's going to be Taco King's therapist. And I do think therapy is kind of like an emerging topic in this country, and it seems to keep resurfacing over and over. And I think that's probably partly due to the pandemic. But I also think that many of us are in need of therapy. I mean, do you feel that way? I just feel like lately there are a lot of unhinged people doing weird things in society, and it's just really getting out of hand, in my opinion. And maybe the idea of venting and talking to someone about your problems could help return that balance to your life. So I thought about destigmatizing the idea of getting therapy by building this into the storyline. So what do you guys think? If Darren goes to see Goodwin Chambers every once in a while to talk about his problems, I think everyone needs to vent once in a while, and I think it'll be an interesting storyline. So we'll see how it goes. But I would like to thank you guys for joining me today, and I'm going to be posting this final artwork on the Taco King Art Instagram page. So once again, please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.